Live?
We're live!
Yay!
We're the cutest puppet in the
I know.
world.
We just wanted to show you. Hi, it's Kim and Jessica with Who's the Fairest Beauty and Styling Show. And we just wanted to show my most recent foster, little Sheena.
I think she's coming home with me.
Yeah. We're talking about fat shaming tonight, so we're not going to fat shame Sheena. She's just the curviest, chunkiest,
Best
little
Vienna sausage.
Little sausage.
She were my Vienna sausage.
She's the cutest thing.
We'll call her Brownie. Yeah, she's a good brownie.
She's so sweet. She's so sweet.
She's a good brownie. Of course now, all of your chihuahuas are going to want to be picked
Adopt,
up.
don't shop. Everyone
Period.
knows we love to rescue. Okay, so, wow, what a subject tonight. We are going to talk about the elephant in the room, pun intended.
Literally.
Yeah. So, this is a topic that is discussed just constantly with all my clients. You guys know I have about 800 female clients a year. And y'all know that all of our videos are crazy and we try to be super fun, which is just our normal personality to be inappropriate. And so we want this video to be really fun and inappropriate and crazy as well. And we're going to try to do that with this topic because it's not a funny topic.
No.
And it's sad. And so we're gonna do what we can to keep this
As non-crazy as possible.
is fun. We're gonna try to keep this fun. So it's not a fun topic, but it needs to be addressed. In today's society, there's so many politically correct issues going on, and people get so sick of hearing about it. And there's so many different sides and arguments going on all the time. But fat shaming is not political, and it's nothing new. It's something our culture has done as long as I've been alive, and so I'm imagining long before I was here. So the first thing I want to say is, if you have not seen my Facebook, or if you've not seen some of my photos, and if you think that maybe I'm not qualified to talk about this, I want to qualify myself and say that I have weighed anywhere from 125 pounds to 205 pounds. So that's an 80-pound difference. And I did try to show at least one photo I could find of myself at 205 pounds. And I want to be clear, I'm not showing this to fat shame myself. I just want to be able to say I've had the experience of being fat shamed. So that I can speak about it because it's happened to me. I couldn't share or talk about something that's never happened to me. So you might look at me right now and go, well, what does she know about being obese or super overweight or being fat shamed? I know all about it. So I actually Googled the definition of what fat shaming is. So according to the dictionary, it is the action or practice of humiliating someone judged to be fat or overweight by making mocking or critical comments about their size. So that's what fat shaming is. Yes, Tom, there will be. Tom asks if we can talk about height shaming. Tom is 7'2" plus. So we can. But actually, he brings up a good point. One of the conversations that we had many times in our friendship was his height and it attracting so much attention. And what I used to always tell him was I felt like the attention was very positive. Now, he didn't always interpret it that way, but I felt like it was positive. I don't think there's ever attention to being overweight that is positive, and if it is, I haven't experienced it.
Yes.
So I truly, as always, we are unscripted and unrehearsed, so we're just going to wing this. I truly can tell you that I do not know Jessica's story about weight issues. I don't really know if she knows my whole story. I mean, she's heard bits and pieces over the years. But if two best friends have not shared the deepest, most intimate parts of it, can you imagine what it's like to be in just casual relationships and not be addressing it?
Yeah.
So, we're going to address it. So, I would like to start with my relationship with weight. For me, and you might think back to when it started with you. For me, I have been very open about my childhood was very dramatic and traumatic. And so when I was a toddler, my very first domestic violence situation occurred. And I was very young, and I was very, very traumatized by it. And I remember as soon as it happened and occurred, it wasn't addressed. We didn't talk about it. We didn't sit down together as a family. None of it was explained to me. I just remember my stepfather picking me up and saying, let's go to McDonald's and get some ice cream. So as my neurological transmitters were fusing at such a young age, literally as my brain was learning to think and to process, I got the message that when you're afraid, you're scared, you're sad, you're depressed, you don't talk about it, and you eat something sweet, and it'll make you feel better. You never address the problem. I also learned in that moment that men don't like to deal with issues or problems, and they like to pretend that they didn't happen as well. That's a different video. But those two are very connected. So at a very young age, because I couldn't drink or be promiscuous or smoke cigarettes or smoke pot or reach out for all these other vices to deal with my emotions, I ate. So my relationship with food was developed at a very young age. So you and I can sit down at a table with a sandwich. I'm never going to look at that food in the way that you're going to look at it. I have a different relationship with the sandwich than you do. So it's a whole psychological, complicated, deep issue. So one of the reasons I wanted to say that was, the next time you want to fat shame, think about what may have occurred to make that person maybe be overeating, maybe not care at that point. Maybe they are depressed or they are sad. You don't know what makes anyone be overweight. Everyone might assume it's from laziness or eating fast food or whatever the issues are, but you don't know what went on behind there. So the message tonight is words matter.
They sure do.
Yeah. So can you kind of think about like one of the first experiences that you got the message that like weight mattered? And
I was probably about 16 years old, and I was always weird about my body anyway. I didn't grow up like you did, but I definitely grew up where things were very structured, and I moved to North Carolina and they were no longer structured. And so I was very lonely, confused. Boyfriends came into the picture and went. And I had one particular boyfriend, I was eating a lot because the relationship was unhealthy. There was some physical issues.
So out of comfort.
Out of comfort, I was starting to eat because there were some issues, and he actually point blank told me, if you don't lose weight, I'm going to dump you.
Yeah.
And that's when I started a journey at 17 of bulimia, and that started from 17 until I was 30.
Yeah. Right. Nothing like an eating disorder. Can you guys hear out my dogs? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. They're all barking.
They're just very happy puppies.
Yeah, they hear the dogs. So, eating disorders. Let's talk about that too, because I feel like that there's first of all, eating disorder is like a worn out, tired issue. It's been around from like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. So I think nowadays when you even say, I have an eating disorder, people go,
oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah. I mean, no one really thinks anything about it. Anorexia became very commonly known, popular, if you will. And that's another issue.
She's not eating?
Right, she's anorexic.
Oh, it's okay. She looks great, though.
Right.
That was the message I got.
Which just, if you're skinny, your eating disorder doesn't matter. If you're overweight, now it's like a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas, actually, if you do some research, anorexia is one of the most deepest, darkest psychological disturbances a person can have. I mean, I've done a ton of research, and I've gone to group therapy, I've been in hospitals, I've done a lot of different things, I've been around a lot of people that practice it. I tried to be anorexic. I researched it and tried for years. It just didn't take. It just didn't take for me. I get really sick when I get hungry, so it didn't take. For her, bulimia.
Well, because food was very comforting to me, but then when I would eat, I wouldn't just eat a little bit. When I would binge,
right.
I would binge. There would be ice cream could go through over half a carton, and then I would purge and feel so much better because I'm like, I can eat whatever I want, and it was okay.
Right.
At my lowest weight, I was in 107 pounds.
Right.
And my family did not know what to do.
And I tried bulimia. Didn't work. Couldn't vomit. I tried gag and like nothing would come back up. So I wasn't one of the lucky people that could get rid of it. So when I would binge, my calories stayed in and I would just gain weight. So in order to get the weight off, I went through the diet obsession, the starving, the gaining, the starving, the gaining. So that was a whole huge issue with the yo-yo dieting. And my mom put me on a diet for the first time when I was 14. I don't know if I lived a single day not being on a diet. I was in middle school. I was severely depressed. I was just a mess of a child. And so, God, can you guys hear the dogs? I'm so sorry.
They just see someone and they're protecting their mom, which I think is very sweet. When
I was in middle school, I left school for the summer, and I was overweight. I had braces. I had the Church of God hair because my mom was like a snake handler, and I wasn't allowed to cut my hair. I mean, I was a mess. I think everybody goes through it. But over that summer, I cut my hair, like something more modern. I got my braces off, and my mom put me on a diet, and I lost a lot of weight. When I went back to school, none of the kids recognized me. They had absolutely no idea who I was. And I had been there for a few years before, and I was really, really book smart. So I was the fat kid in school that all the cheerleaders and the football players, they literally had me do their homework. I would do their homework trying to buy their friendship. But when I went into the lunchroom with my lunch tray and I'd walk through, they'd turn their backs so I wouldn't sit at their table. They just completely shunned me. So I would usually take my food into the bathroom and hide on the toilet and put my feet up on the toilet seat and eat in the bathroom. So when I went back to school and I was thin and like a lot cuter than I had been the year before, some of those very same people that had shamed me all that time were literally lined up at my locker. The boys were giving me all this attention. The girls were wanting to be my friend. Yeah. And instead of it making me happy,
it makes you miserable.
It made me hate them.
Yeah.
I hated them for wanting to accept me because I had lost weight. And so it really turned me against that whole part of society. And I never really got past that because I felt like the kids that accepted me at any size were the artistic kids. It was the music kids, the band kids, like everybody that was more alternative or different. They didn't judge me for the way that I looked, and that pretty much changed my path in life. So I struggled with, that's another issue too, is when you have an eating disorder, you can say, I'm anorexic, I'm bulimic, and then they started it's called binge eating disorder. There's like all these different terms. My issue that was such a struggle my entire life, even until today, is there was never a textbook explanation for my relationship with food. I think nowadays they actually call it distorted eating. And it's it's a new definition in the therapeutic industry, where if you just don't fit into a category. So it would be hard too, because even when I found the bravery sometimes to tell someone they have an eating disorder, they go, oh, really, what is it? And I go,
I don't know.
I don't know how to explain it to you, but my relationship with food is unhealthy, and it caused a lot of issues. And I can tell you some of the behaviors that I've done with food. And I can't believe that I'm going to share this, but I mean,
I get it.
We're here to do it. Yeah. So let's do it. Let's talk about some of the things that I've done with food that I can't imagine anyone else has ever done, but I guarantee there's probably thousands of people that have.
Yeah.
So when people would ask me what my eating disorder was, I don't starve. I don't vomit. I don't necessarily always binge or gorge. That has been part of my behavior. My relationship with food has always been deeply complicated. So some of the things that I have done over the years with food, from teenage years on into adulthood, was I would buy food and throw it away. Something in my mind, I couldn't eat the food, so I'd toss it. Or I'd buy food and I would eat the food, and then I'd never allow myself to eat the food again. Or I'd buy the food, eat some of the food, and then throw it away, and then go back and do the same thing every single day. I'd buy the same food, eat half of the same food, and throw that food away, and then go back the next day and do it over. Instead of just keeping the leftovers and eating it the next day. I have thrown food away and gotten it out of the trash can. I have thrown food out my car window and gone around the block and came back and got it. I have stolen food from people's homes, not because I was hungry, not because I needed food, but I've been on jobs, I've been in people's homes where there was food, and I can't explain it to you. I felt the need to sneak and take the food. I'm calling it stealing. It was more like sneaking the food. And I don't know why, because they happily would have given me the food, but I'm sure there was a lot of shame attached to me wanting the food, so I would just sneak the food. In the past, I've written bad checks for food. If I didn't have the money on me, I've gone out in the middle of the night in pajamas to get food because I didn't want anyone to see me in the light of day. I mean, I can just go on and on. Just bizarre, crazy behavior because my relationship with food just wasn't healthy and normalized. I didn't eat to live. I lived to eat.
Yeah.
So... And I'm sure you have some weird rituals.
Oh, yeah.
With food.
When I was at the height of a lot of it, and my parents kind of caught me binging and purging, they would listen to hear if I was throwing up. So I started throwing up. Sometimes I'd go in my backyard and throw up when they, in the middle of the night, or I would use bags and I would hide them until I could dispose of them.
Right.
And God bless my father. He came from a very, very different generation. He will actually be 80 this week. He didn't understand it at all. He literally would find the bags. He would never tell my mom. My mom and I have talked about it in recent years. It's nothing against my dad, so don't think that he was a bad dad for not saying something to my mom. He just didn't know what to do because he graduated from college in 1959. That wasn't something that was really out there. So when you'd find the bags, he would literally do this. Now, Jessica, stop hurting yourself. And he would pat me like that. I mean, literally like that. And that was all that would be said. Or he said, hey, I can't afford to send you someplace. And when he said that to me, it was like a slap in the face. And honestly, it made me want to do it more. Right. And I'm not saying that that's rational. You're asking like an 18-year-old girl.
There's nothing rational about any of this.
So throwing up in bags, and he couldn't understand, and literally he would say to me, this is disgusting, and I knew it was disgusting to have bags hidden. There are still stains in my mom's house in a cubby where I would hide the bags because vomit is very acidic. So even in the bag, sometimes it would start to leave a stain through the bag, and they're still there to this day. And my mom for the longest time, kept wondering what the hell that was in these little cubbies that we had. And I was like, and my dad did the same thing.
And that's an important thing because over the years, when you do practice eating disorders and you are having these issues and you do reach out, which is, I can't even explain to you how desperate and hard it is to reach out. When you do, if you reach out to a rational person, you're practicing an irrational process and action. So a rational person usually says some of the worst things that could be said to you. And the most damaging replies you could get because they aren't trained, they don't understand. So they just say like the worst things to you. And so I think
they're helping. So but my dad, I know he loves me. And, we don't even talk about it even to this day. It's like, it didn't happen.
And for Jessica, she may not have had, and so we'll get into fat shaming. There's so many different levels to it because you imagine everyone who's fat shamed is very overweight.
No.
And that's not necessarily true. And it's not just fat shaming by others. You also fat shame yourself. And when you are fat shamed, it's not always something that someone said to you. A lot of times it's the message you're getting from the media or from coworkers or from friends or from
not
whatever.
Even meaning to. Like, when I lost all that weight, when I turned around at 17, like you, I got that attention. Mm-hmm. And for me to ever go backwards and ever be that person again, I would literally panic. Like, I literally would weigh myself every single day. And if I went up to, like, let's say 110 pounds, which is ridiculous for someone my size, I was emaciated. I look back at some of those photos now, and I don't look at it like I used to, but I look back at it now and I cringe. You could see my bones. But then I felt so comfortable because everyone kept saying, you look so much better, Jessica. You know, you look so great now. And that's all I kept hearing.
It's really, really difficult because you want to be a healthy weight. You want to be healthy-minded. And then but the only time people say anything, I want to actually read you a message today that someone sent me on Facebook when I posted that we were going to talk about fat shaming. And she wrote, "You'd be so pretty if you were skinny." She said,
shit.
"Living a whole life with low self-esteem because being overweight meant I wasn't or couldn't be pretty. I've grown to hate my face and body, and I can't even look in the mirror. I take selfies to make sure that's what I look like, and it's repulsive. I've been on diets, and I work out. Getting strong has helped me with my confidence, but I eventually give up because what's the point? It's dumb, and I love beauty and being surrounded by and making things beautiful. Being in my body and having my face is torture because it's the one thing I can't have. My husband is a great man, and he tells me every single day that he loves me and thinks I'm pretty. I still don't believe him." She said, "My point is fat shaming from a young age is damaging, and it's something I will never come to terms with." And so, like I said, I was hoping we could make this upbeat, but we can't because I'm getting ready to take it as dark as it can possibly go. And I'm sorry, but we wanted to be real about this. So what she's talking about, fat shaming as a child, is everlasting. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about fat shaming as an adult because the damage it does to you as a child will stay with you until you die. It will. I don't care what anyone tells you. It will stay with you to the day that you die. I will carry it with me always. What was done as a child is why I feel the way I do now. But I want to talk about being fat shamed as an adult because, again, you don't know why someone is overweight. I can't stress that enough. I was overweight because I had an eating disorder. Some people, I have a client right now who's on steroids from having lupus. Yeah. And she's gained a lot of weight and she's been fat shamed. I have a client today who was horrified to be taking family photos because she's been fat shamed and asked if she's pregnant, which, by the way, assholes, she was in the hospital dealing with an obstruction in her digestive tract. So again, you don't know why someone is carrying extra weight. You have no idea. So why are you even pointing it out or fat shaming someone? You don't know what they're dealing with. Sometimes it's a health issue. For me, at this point in my life, I have dealt with some health issues that I do believe contribute to some of my difficulty in losing weight. But I can't blame it on that my entire life, but that's been the case. And so tonight's topic was words matter. Mm-hmm. And what I want to talk about is, first of all, your right to fat shame. You have no right to bully anybody for any reason. But there is not an overweight person in the United States of America that doesn't fucking know it. Yeah. Never feel the need, ever, under any circumstances, to tell someone that they're overweight. You fucking think we don't know that? You don't think that we see the looks and hear the comments every freaking time we leave the house? You don't have to tell someone they know it. I promise you, they're aware of it. Second of all, it's our bodies. Y'all scream about what's your body, whether or not to have an abortion. Well, it's your body, whether or not to lose weight. That's on you. If you want to lose weight, then do it. If you don't, then don't. It is no one else's right to tell you to lose weight, except the exception would be your medical doctor. You may have some medical issues with being overweight. My medical doctor has told me to lose weight before, and I have lost weight. But it can be a medical issue. So in that instance, it can. But no one needs to be told. And I'll go further with that, but I'm going to tell you the dark side. But it's what you need to know, because if you're a fat shamer and you think words don't matter, or you think your opinion isn't important, or you think, you know what, toughen up and deal with it, you don't know the psychological state of someone when you make that comment. You're right. I'm a lot healthier. I'm a lot more recovered. Right now, if you told me I was fat, I'd just tell you to fuck off and look in the other direction. I don't care what you think. But I didn't have this frame of mind a few years ago, and it did matter what you thought. And I was in a relationship several years ago with someone that we were living together, and we had discussed marriage and long term and blah, 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 blah. Long story short, he quit being physical, he quit being intimate with me. I couldn't understand why, and pressing the issue, he told me that I was too fat. That he couldn't touch me because I was too fat. Not that it matters, I just want to throw in on that little comment. I was the same weight when he said that I was when we met, but that doesn't even matter. But I just want to say that I had not gained weight. And when I said, well, if you feel that way, why did you even get involved with me? And he said, well, I thought I could get past it. So now I'm a thing to get past. This is why words matter. We did eventually break up, but I want to be honest and say I stayed with him after that comment. I signed up for that about 2 more times with him. Because when you're that beaten down, it's just like domestic violence. When you're just that beaten down and they manipulate you and they actually make you feel like you couldn't have anyone else, that's what you do. And just in case you're listening going, oh, well, he was probably like a model. Maybe he was this super fit, gorgeous guy who's just used to really...
Oh, hell no, I've seen the pictures. Oh, hell no.
He was balding, he had dentures, and he was overweight. So I just went in the reason, and that's not to shame. I'm just being honest. This was someone who was in no position to be judging me. It wasn't like he spent all his time taking care of himself. But anyway, back to the point that he did eventually cheat on me, and he was very open about it on social media, and he made it very clear that she was half my size. And in that state of mind, and in that frame of mind, and the damage that does, and this is why words matter, is I was on suicide watch for an entire weekend, and I convinced everyone, I lied, that I needed, someone was on the way, and I set it all up, but someone wasn't there. And I said goodbye to my dogs, and I sent them home with someone, and I loaded a gun, and I put my finger on the trigger, and I put it on my chin. And the reason that I survived that moment is a different video. But something did intervene at that time, and it saved my life, literally. So I need to make this clear one more time. Words matter. You watch your words. You watch what you say to someone. You do not know the frame of mind that they're in. So when you decide to criticize someone and put someone down and reject them, you do not know what they're capable of at that time. I'm not going to blame him for that decision. That was my decision. That was on me. But had he not been so cruel to me, I would not have made that choice. So I understand that sometimes you're in a relationship with someone, maybe they gain a lot of weight. Maybe they lose a lot of weight. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to try to be very fair here. I want to be very open, and I'm trying to be fair on both sides. So, what if you're in a relationship with someone and they gain a lot of weight? Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I've heard people say, well, you should love them anyway. I'm going to be super fair and say, if you're not attracted to someone of a larger size and they have gained a lot of weight, then it sounds to me like it does need to be addressed. Because if you don't address it, typically, I'm just being honest here, a lot of people step outside the relationship if they're not attracted to the person that they're with.
Yeah.
So, and I've had people on Facebook reach out to me and say, you know, my daughter's overweight. How do I address it?
Shit.
Right. Like, how do you address these issues? I just want to say, criticizing.
It does not help.
I never lost a pound.
No.
Right. Did you ever lose a pound because someone told you needed to? Or that you looked like you could lose a few pounds?
Unfortunately, it put me in it made me ill from the time I was 17 to 30. So when someone said that to me, it devastated me. And there were things said even before that, you know.
So it doesn't, to criticize someone is not going to make them lose weight. I have a friend whose husband was overweight. He just lost a lot of weight. She's gained some weight, and now he's shaming her. Which makes no sense, because if you've been through it, why are you doing it to someone else?
I don't understand that either.
But if you do have to address it, I've tried to think about what would have been a positive way for someone to address this with me.
Ugh, that's such a loaded question.
And honestly, I don't know if there is. I don't know if there is a positive way. I think some ways are better than others. I do think, you know, saying things like maybe wait till the person addresses it, and when the person says, I don't like the way I look in this dress, or I don't like that I've put on 20 pounds, or I'm not feeling that great about myself, I think that's an opportunity for a partner or a spouse or a friend to say, well, if you want to, you know, if you want to do anything about it, I am so happy to help you. Do you want to go for a walk? Do you want me to take a yoga class with you? Do you want to go shopping and find something that you feel like looks better, and we can look around at some, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do to assist without shaming. Another thing about shaming, and speaking of shopping, when I was with that asshole, we used to go shopping, and we would separate, and he'd go to men, and I'd go to women. And when I would go, and I would pick up, and at the time I was a large, kill me, I was a large, and I would pick up larges or extra larges, and you know, they have a little tag. I would break off all the tags before I put the clothes in the cart, so when he came over to the cart, he wouldn't see the size I was trying on, because I was horrified if he saw an L or an XL that he'd be so disgusted that he couldn't be with me.
Because he gave you that impression. And I have to say, though, my husband, I mean, he definitely has a little love on him himself, but he was one of the reasons why I stopped. And with your saying, remember, in the beginning of the conversation, you were saying, you know, you can't just say, like my father did or some other people. He actually had to be unrational with me. He literally told me, and I kind of needed that slap in the face. Not everyone does, but without that, I think I would still be very sick. I don't even know if I'd be alive today, honestly. And I have 2 daughters, so it was very shameful even looking back on it. You know, when I look at them, and to me, they're gifts. I wouldn't even care if they were overweight. I love them so much, and I would never want them to go through ever what I went through. It
is. Like, I will tell you, like, I can't say this enough, it makes you not want to live. You can interpret that however you want, but when you live with a lot of body shame, and it's not even about the size.
It's just,
I mean, I'm a lot smaller than I used to be, and I'm also a lot heavier than I used to be. I mean, I've had an 80-pound weight loss range all my life. I am at the most peace and happiness now, and I'm not even by any means at the smallest I've been, but the peace comes from in here. The acceptance and the self-love comes from in here. And even recently, I was in a relationship a few months ago, and I was talking to my mom on the phone, and I was bragging to my mom. I told her this, and I said, wow, Mom, I've met someone that is very body accepting. I don't think my weight would ever be an issue. If I were to gain weight, I don't think this person would have an issue with it. And I thought that was like a wonderful thing to share with my mom, because I wanted her to know. And my mother said to me, well, that's wonderful that he accepts your weight, but that doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah, that was, when you told me that, literally, if I'd had a hamster running the wheel in my brain, it would have fallen out.
Right.
Yeah.
So sometimes fat shaming comes from someone who loves you more than anybody, but
they think they're helping you.
It literally she felt fear. Her first thought was, oh God, she's going to gain weight.
Yeah, don't
She's going to gain weight because she thinks that someone thinks it's okay. Like, she was terrified that I was going to gain weight. So it's like, even someone that means well can say things
that are hurtful.
And damaging. And the message is always, you're not acceptable at a certain number. And I don't know exactly what that number is. You know, in our society, I think it's if you're over a 6, maybe you're unacceptable. And I'm like, you know, like if you go to a quote normal store, you have to go to a different department, the plus size department.
Yeah.
If you're over, I think, a 14, even though a 12, 14 is considered normal, so you have to go to a special department, and that's even if they carry plus size. You may have to go to a different store, and I just want to throw out kudos to, Torrid. I just want to say God bless Torrid. If you're not familiar with
clothes and making
Torrid is a clothing store that is actually was a branch off from Hot Topic.
Go figure.
Mm-hmm. They started dressing golf girls of larger size, and they have their own stores. And I think that sometimes the prices are a little bit pricey, but I don't even care because the point is they fit. I mean, they fit girls into size. I think like 28.
Yeah, I think it's
or larger, and it is. It's like modern day clothing, and I can't say enough about that. And another part of that is talking about clothing. Is I don't think you can get healthy or lose weight or feel mentally better about yourself if you don't, and this is a part of what I do. Part of my job is I go to people's houses and I help them learn how to dress, and I help them organize their closets, and I help it not be stressful. Because most of my life, I'd go to the closet, take one look, and then just sit down and turn on TV and forget about it. I'm not even going to go anywhere because I'm so horrified at the thought of dressing and how to cover my body so I don't look fat. I mean, it's such a freaking struggle. So learning how to dress for your size, I just can't even say enough about it. And so one of the things that I teach people immediately is you have to feel beautiful today. Yeah. If you weigh 250 pounds and you need to lose weight and you want to lose weight, that's absolutely fine. But you have to feel beautiful now, because fat shaming, even yourself, will never, ever help you lose weight. You have to feel like you look good now. I was always good about that. I'd always go shopping and buy outfits that fit me at that size, and accessories and shoes and purses, and look cute. I knew I was overweight, but at least it built up your self-esteem. It makes you feel better, because if you can't change from hate. You can only change from love. Yeah. People can love you enough to heal you. You can love yourself enough to heal. But if you're hating yourself, or someone else is making you feel shamed, nothing's going to change. You're not going to do it out of that. No. I never did.
No. And I definitely didn't stop being bulimic because, you know, my family rallied around me and said, "It's okay, Jessica, we love you." It actually, it's embarrassing to admit this out loud, but my husband actually told me when he found out that I struggled with it, he goes, "Okay." And he was very calm, and he actually told me, and he was dead serious, and I knew he would fall through it. You bet my husband. You know, when he says he's going to do it or be crazy, then he has been. And that's a whole nother video. And he told me that he would handcuff me to him at night so that I couldn't sneak off to the bathroom and have to wake him up to go to the bathroom with me. Right. He said that we would not have a door on the bathroom, and that if we went out to eat or out anywhere, he would come with me to the bathroom, and then he kind of angrily pointed his finger and he said, "You will have to explain to every woman coming into that bathroom why I'm standing in there." And I literally was taken aback. No one had ever said, "I'm going to help you with the problem. Why don't we just go to counseling?" It took something so severe to go, "Oh shit, he's serious." And honestly, the horror of having to tell other people or being handcuffed to him kind of scared me, but it worked. But I still struggle, and we still talk about it. But I talked about it a little with him today because you said we were going to do this. And he actually reminded me of the bathroom door. And it's funny because our oldest got in trouble over the summer, and he actually took off her damn door.
I've actually never heard that one, but it depends on what you're doing in your privacy that sometimes people
he just wants to look in the hall. He doesn't want her shutting herself out, so he's like, I'm taking off her door. And so he's like, and I'll do it. And so I knew that I would, and he's dead serious. To anyone that knows my husband knows that he isn't playing.
And there's no perfect answer.
No, there isn't.
No
but
perfect solution.
For
Some
me,
people do better than others with therapy. Or, you know, I tried therapy. I joined support groups. I read a lot of books. You know, I've done a lot of different things, and I don't feel like there's one solution for everybody. But I will say this.
I needed that.
Period.
Kick.
Is we have to stop the shame. And this is like, sounds like such a weird comparison, but this has always stayed with me. So I'll never forget when Jeffrey Dahmer was exposed and they had him in jail and they were interviewing him one time. I think it was on like Dateline. And they said to him, when was the first time you thought about killing someone? And Jeffrey Dahmer said, I never wanted to kill someone. That was never my objective. I always wanted to create a zombie. I always wanted to kidnap a person, experiment on them, and create a zombie. And when I failed, I'd have to dispose of the person. It was never about the killing. And they said, when was the first time you thought of this? And he said, 14.
Shit.
And they said, why didn't you tell anybody? And he said, who was I going to tell? And then they said, how old were you when you did it? And he said, 18. So for years, ever since that, I have never forgotten that. And I always think to myself, there was a 4-year window and all those people could be alive. Because we had 4 years as a society to have a place where a young Jeffrey Dahmer, who was beginning to have these fantasy ideas and thoughts, could go somewhere, and here's the kicker, not be shamed as he thought he would be, and could have talked to someone. So I'm here to tell you, if I had had any opportunity at all to go somewhere where these crazy, sick, bizarre thoughts started happening in my brain about food, that I could have gone and just talked to someone who wouldn't shame me and just said, hey, you know, this is actually normal, all things considered. I have been very open, you know, I have attempted to take my life more than once. And I would tell you that in my behavior and relationship with food has been a part of that decision in each case. So, again, words matter. So when I meet young people, and I do a lot for my job, it's a constant build them up, because there's so many messages that you get torn down. And if you're going to say, well, the media this, well, I don't know of a TV show where all the girls are not thin. I mean, my favorite series, they're all thin. All the movies I've watched are thin. The only time you're reflected back someone who isn't thin in the media,
they're the funny
she's
person.
A plus-size model, or she's a comedian, or the actual show is about her because she's overweight. So what happens to all the people that are just of normal size? When I say normal size, I don't even know what I mean by normal size. It just, I don't know, let's just say a healthy weight, someone that's not necessarily suffering from an extreme weight gain that's affecting their health per se. But it is a personal choice. It's up to the person. You can't make that decision for them. I changed the way that my body looks because I wanted to feel better about myself. It didn't come from something that someone said.
No.
I've shared this before, that when I was at my top weight, I lived in a house where I'd get out of the shower and there was a full body mirror, and I was horrified. I couldn't even make contact with the mirror ever. So I'd never had a tattoo in my entire life. And when I approached my tattoo artist for the first time, I told him, I'm not here because it's cool. I'm not here to be like tattooed by some. I'm here because I hate myself. And most days I just want to die. So I want you to put something pretty, something of art, something of beauty on my body. So when I get out of the shower and I look in the mirror, my eyes can focus on something beautiful. And he totally understood that idea.
Yeah.
And this was my very first tattoo. And
Which
from
is beautiful.
that day, I got out of the shower and I looked in the mirror and I couldn't stop grinning. And it has been my road back from recovery. I quit looking at my thighs and my ass and my abs. And my weight has fluctuated.
Yeah.
But from that day, I learned to love my body because I had something gorgeous to focus on. And I'm not saying that's the solution for everybody, but that is giving you an idea of like, you never know where you're going to find your self-confidence. Yeah. But you can't shame yourself into being thinner or feeling better about yourself.
Genetics
and no one else
is what it is.
Can shame you either. So I don't know if we've helped anyone. Hopefully this did reach somebody and someone out there heard us, because it is not easy. You know, we are always crazy on here, and I don't think we've laughed one time.
Well, maybe a little with the puppies.
We've got a lot of humor in this, but it needed to be said. I mean, let's talk about it. Yeah. If you're a woman, talk about it with your women friends. If you're a mother, talk about it with your children. I keep referring to women because I'm not a man, and I don't know a man's journey through fat shaming. I know it happens. I just can't speak to it because it's not my experience. I know I've had female clients who told me that their husbands had gained a lot of weight and that was an issue. So obviously it happens on both sides. It does. I can't help but say, in all fairness, I think it tends to be more detrimental to women and more common. Let's put it that way. I think women are a lot more accepting sometimes of someone, of a man that may be. Yep. So, words matter. That's the message. That's what we just wanted to say, is watch your words. Yes. Be careful with what you say.
And I've been lucky, to have positive friendships. After my first marriage went poop, and, I had my husband and I've had you. And I'm not saying I haven't had a lot of great people in my life, so don't get upset, but I've had two really strong people that I'm one of those people that needs, what the hell are you doing, Jessica? Get the fuck up off the couch. I needed to hear that, no matter what amount of therapy I did. For me personally, for everyone else out there, I know that therapy works. For me, it did not do the same. I just felt like I was going in circles. Well, what are you going to do today, Jessica? For me, I needed a kick. So thank you for kicking me, and thank my husband for kicking me when it came to that, because I needed that. I wouldn't be the person I am today. I still struggle, but, I have two really strong people that I can talk to, that I feel safe, so that helps.
I think that's a big part of it, is find someone that talks to you without judging and without shame. And if you're on the opposite side of that, just be someone who listens. Quit trying to solve the problem and tell them what to do, because what you would do is not what they would do. No. So just listen to them. People find their own ways. I have found things that work for me that a lot of people have said, like, well, how did you lose weight? And it's like, it's not really about how I lost weight. That's not going to have anything to do with how you decide to lose weight.
Some people are drinking vinegar and sugar and doing all that shit, and it works for them.
Some people go to health foods, some people don't. Some people exercise, some people don't. Some people my lifestyle would not work for someone who traveled all the time, or had to eat fast food all the time, or worked 15 hours. I mean, it's all about your lifestyle and like what you need to do. So it's very personalized. Yes. But what you do need to do is find someone that you can talk to and that is supportive. I did have that. And even though my mom has inadvertently fat shamed me sometimes,
but she doesn't.
She has always been there and been very supportive of every attempt that I ever did try to make, to try to lose weight.
And her way of saying that, it wasn't a good way. But she thought, in her mind, she was helping you.
Parents worry because they know if their children are gay or overweight, they're going to be shamed and not accepted by people. So sometimes you just receive that message. So anyway, I hope this helped some. I hope we got the dialogue going. I think it's definitely a subject that we can talk more about, probably a lot more times. And I'm sorry my dogs have barked through this entire video, but it is what it is. Yeah. All right, so we'll post this on YouTube as always, and we'll try to do another one this week. So words matter. Watch what you say.
And if you have questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Just post them in comments as usual. All right. Thank you.